Hi, I'm Julia and this is my shed. So today what we're going to do is take the motor out of Ellie and investigate the ports, because I've got a feeling I've made a mistake somewhere, making the ports perhaps a bit too big, because it will, and certainly under steam, it will lock at bottom dead centre. So I think to actually get to the bottom of it, we need to take the motor out and have a proper look at it. So let's get started. So I'm just looking at the jig that I used to drill the ports. Now what you can see that the crank is nowhere near horizontal. It should be something like here. So I think what's happened is that if I do that to be roughly where I think it should be, which is something like that, you'll see that the ports would have been drilled much wider apart. So I'm not sure. I think I've made a bit of a mistake there with the crank. So I'm just going to double check that, but I may need to re-drill these ports because they're not in the right place. So let's see what we can do with that. Okay, so what I've done is made this bend a bit more acute so that there's space now to put to drill the hole. So one thing that doesn't look right is the positioning of the ports. So if I line up with the hole and the crank, you can see all of that one. But on this one, so it's like the ports are a bit too far this way compared to here. So if I so this hole's central. So that's 804 and 802. This port is at 634 and this one's at 5.4. So everything's moved over by 1 mil. I quickly made another adapter so I could run just the motor on its own on air. You'll notice that there is a shield for the motor inlet, which Ian mentioned. So just for you, Ian, I've put the screws back in so it works properly. So a quick demonstration of the problem. You see it's now locked at bottom dead centre. Now, I haven't got a lot of pressure going on there, but if I you can see that's quite solid. But if you can spin it past that point, works fine. So yeah, we need to adjust the port timing. So I need to figure out how to do that. Okay, so we've tested it on air and reproduced the problem. And what I've got now is I've got my jig set up here, and I'm using the actual pivot so that it's the right size. If you can see here, this is the pivot hole, which is the same size as the one in the cylinder. The port for the inlet side, which is this side, is open. It's only a slight crack, but it should be closed at this point. So if I move it to where the exhaust just starts to open, it's about there. you can see that the hole is at least half open there. So to cut a long story short, I think that the inlet port, which I'll just show there, the inlet port here needs to move this way by about half a hole's width. I need to figure out how big the hole is, but so basically what we're going to do is we're going to plug that with some brass and then drill a new hole with the centre line halfway across here, and then it should be in a similar position to the exhaust port. Okay, so I've just made a very small plug on the lathe. It's a loose fit because obviously we need some room for the soft solder. So what I'm going to do is put some soft solder paste in the hole. Okay, so I've come up with this mounting arrangement. It is repeatable because this edge comes up against the end of the vise. So what I've done is I'm just zeroing in the milling machine on the existing hole. So I'll hit 0, 0 there, and then we need to move probably 1.1 mil this way to drill the new hole. Right, we'll get plenty of solder paint in the old port, so that's nice and full. And we'll pop the plug in just like that. Actually, I think I'll put a bit of solder paint on that as well. Okay, so we should at least be nicely tinned now. Lovely. That's zeroed on the plug at the moment, so what I'm going to do is move it that way by 1.2 mil, which is half a hole width roughly. I think it's about a 2.4 mil hole. So hopefully that'll be fine. Good to go. So to start the hole off, I'm using a 2 mil FC3 cutter. I'm just drilling it vertically, so it should be all right. So I'm now going to try and remove as much of the plug as possible without actually touching the port face. Now it's flat, I'm just using a 2.4 mil drill to re-drill the new port. Once that's done, we now need to clean up the port faces so they're nice and flat. Okay, so I spent a bit of time just cleaning the ports up with some emery paper just to make them nice and smooth. But you know, just to get a nice even finish really, because the top port face, the cutter was chattering for some reason or other, so I just needed to sort that out. But yeah, so let's have a look, see how it runs now. Well, that self-starts every time nearly, as long as it's on the downstroke. What a good result. So that's definitely fixed the problem. Bit of a pain. I'm hoping that the other motors aren't the same, otherwise I've got quite a lot of soft soldering in my future. But at least this motor is running nicely now, so I'm really happy with that. And yeah, we'll just need to run it in again now. Well, that's quite nice, isn't it? It's running quite nicely. So that's a good result. So I hope you found that useful, especially if you're an Ellie builder. Hopefully that'll help you just sort out any problems you may have with starting. So like, share, subscribe. Do leave a comment, because I always like your comments. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you in the next one.